Thank you for tuning in to another episode of my Veterans to Success podcast. You probably know by now, my mission is to help 1 million veterans and entrepreneur business owners achieve the dreams, goals, and aspirations they deserve. That is why I created the Veterans to Success podcast, because I get to interview guys, men and women, who want to share their fascinating stories with you about their time before, during and after their time in the military, so you can benefit and overcome your challenges. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be mesmerized, astounded, and entertained. Hello and welcome to another episode of Veterans to Success, the podcast where I get to speak to seemingly ordinary people who have extraordinary stories. And today I've got with me Elaine Hanson. Hello, Elaine.
Hi, Joe.
How are you today? Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank
Brilliant. So we've had a good chat and we know each other pretty well now. And I think your story is absolutely amazing. And there's no big fanfare for the common man or common woman. We just delve straight in and we do a steady reveal, because I prefer that actually. And I think you'd agree, we don't want anyone to know about the icing on the cake until they understand where you've come from. Does that make sense?
That does, Joe, yeah.
Excellent. So we'll start off by asking you to tell me a little bit about you, about your life before you joined the military. So what was going on?
Okay, Joe. So I had a pretty good upbringing. My mum and dad fostered children from when I was 6. So which was very interesting. We had some very interesting children. I had a good school life, enjoyed school, stayed on for sixth form for a year, and then decided I was fed up with that. I'd wanted to go into the police force initially. So I applied to go in as a cadet, and the year I applied, I was too young. Right. And they told me to come back next year. So I went back the next year, and they changed all the criteria and I was too old. So they said I'd got to wait till I was 18 to go in the regs. Well, I was 17 and I'd got restless, so I disappointed. I decided, well, what am I going to do? I'd done a sixth form thing. I'd been a year at college as well, doing catering. So I turned to put my local army careers office.
No, and you did before you carry on, right? You've just done a quick whiz bang tour of your life. Now I know, because we've had a good conversation. Because if I just allowed you and we skimmed over that, without exploring that, I think that'd be pretty unfair, and it wouldn't do you justice.
Okay, Joe.
So your mum was a foster carer, your dad worked for BT.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about how, because you were an only child, right? And it made me.
Oh no, there was 2 of us.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I had a brother as well.
Right. Oh, right. I misinterpreted that. Well, yeah. You said that you were the only girl, right?
Yes.
How and when you arrived home and found I was the first foster child, how did that make you feel?
I was kind of in a bit of shock, because at the time my brother wasn't born when there's nearly 12 years difference between us.
That's why I got slightly confused.
Yeah.
You know that you said when the first foster child came, you were on your own, right? That makes sense.
Yeah. So so obviously I think I was about 6 when the first one turned up, and I'm not going to lie, I was a bit jealous. I'd had my mum and dad to myself for 6 years.
Yeah.
And it was a bit strange, this strange child turning up, and I didn't know much about them. And, they were from a different ethnicity, the first one, and I soon adjusted though. I actually quite got to quite enjoy having different children because they were like little playmates, and but they most of the children that came to my mum and dad were very troubled children.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, we encountered difficulties
Yeah.
on the way as a family, and I was jealous, because I felt they were getting more attention, but
Mm.
in reality they weren't. They just needed a bit more attention
Yeah.
because of the
Yeah.
background they'd come from.
Yeah.
So I actually found it quite good, and it taught me a really good lesson, and that's that not all kids have an idyllic childhood.
No.
Children have trauma, and it's more than you could ever think of.
Mm. Yeah.
Do you know what? It's more common than you could ever think of.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so I got to. I think it steadied me well at school, because I soon realised why kids bully kids.
Yeah.
And it's usually because they've got some sort of childhood trauma going on of their own. They haven't received the love that they need. They haven't received the care that they need. They're fighting for themselves.
Yeah.
So, it spun my head round at school. I realised why these things happened from a very early age.
Yeah.
And I think that gave me a bit of compassion towards young people,
Yeah.
you
I,
know.
and that's interesting as well, because what we talked about was, the bullies also maybe have deficiency in something simple like food.
Exactly.
Yeah, because love's an
Exactly.
important factor. If you've not got enough food, then you're
Yeah.
gonna want to rebel, aren't you? Because you
God,
just
yeah.
protecting yourself.
Nobody likes to be hungry, do they?
No, without giving your age away too much, what year was it when the first foster child came in? What year was that?
Uh, that's 76,
But
77.
right, so and at that time, right, I know because I was born in 1962, so in 76 I was 14, right, and I
Yeah,
had an interesting time at 14 because, as you know, I was hit by a car. I had a
yeah,
road incident. But coming back to this, 1976, as I remember it, was an interesting time for uh, children and people of different ethnic backgrounds.
yeah,
And I'm like you. I don't care what color you are,
yeah.
creed, color, anything.
No,
If you just believe in having a good life and giving back
exactly.
and doing your bit, I'm good, right?
Yeah,
So going back to this 1976, you come home, right? and there's a new child in the house and of a different ethnic background. How did that impact your life at the time? Obviously, you felt that you weren't being given much attention, but
yeah.
what about when you went to school? What was going on?
It was quite funny, because the child that I'm talking about was of Pakistani origin,
Yeah.
and she was only 6 weeks old when we had her.
Oh,
So she came as virtually a newborn. And I can remember we hadn't got a pram or a cot for her because she was an emergency placement.
yeah.
So she actually came in the middle of the night. I actually woke up and found this baby like in my bedroom in like a, what do they call it? A Moses crib.
Right.
That's all we had for her. And my granddad had bought. Do you remember these Silver Cross prams?
Yes, I do. Yeah, they're
My
amazing.
granddad had bought me a Dolly's version.
Right.
And I got up and looked at this child in this crib, picked her up, put her in my doll's pram, and went out. And my mum said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm going down the shop." There was a little shop, and it was in them days. It was perfectly safe for youngsters to walk around. It was only down the road. So my mum must have thought I'd got the doll in the pram, but I hadn't. I put the baby in the pram. And I can remember walking down the road, and one of the elderly neighbours, who was probably in her 80s, said, "Oh, hello, Elaine." She said, let me have a look at your dolly, and got quite a shock when there was a real life, coloured baby in there. And she was like, "Where did you get that from?" And she walked me back to my mum's because she obviously realised that my mum probably didn't know that I'd got this baby in the pram. Walked me back, and what I can remember, like, people looked at my mum when we were walking down when we got the pram, because she was of a different colour, and they were like, whose is that?
Yeah, yeah,
Very, very different to when we had white children.
yeah,
But people got used to it, and she was a lovely little baby, to be fair.
yeah.
Very, very pretty looking, and people just got used to it. And she stayed with us for nearly 2 years.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and it was for me, it was more gut wrenching when she left.
Yeah,
Because we'd sort of nurtured her for those 2 years.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and those early lifehood experiences for her, she was going to be adopted eventually. I think I'm not too sure of what happened. I know her mum was terminally ill, and her dad had got a very high powered job. That's all
right,
I really knew. I didn't know much of her background. She
yeah,
wasn't neglected or anything.
right,
However, I can always remember she used to go for weekends with her biological parents, and every time she came back, she screamed the house down, and we couldn't figure out why. And it got to the stage where every night my mum was up with her just because she was screaming constantly. So my mum took her to the doctors, and they sent her to hospital for some tests, and she was only probably about 3 or 4 months old.
right.
And it was discovered that she'd got ulcerative colitis, because
Oh,
the dad had been taking her home and feeding her curry.
oh.
So it had burned her little insides.
Oh,
Uh,
she was having a chicken madras or a vindaloo or something.
yeah, yeah. So, like, I remember the social worker saying to Mum, "We'll have to go and educate this man." But they'd got like about 9 other children, so you think he'd probably know. Although in
Yeah,
that,
well, yeah, I suppose. Well, when you're eating, when you're having whatever you were feeding baby foods, traditional
yeah,
English food, and going home at the weekend and getting a blast on a good curry. I
yeah,
mean, a good curry used to do me anyway.
yeah,
So,
that's it.
but I mean, for a young baby, less than 3 months old, flipping heck.
Yeah, but
And
yeah, but
oh, so
yeah. So it was very interesting. I got to enjoy it. I got to relish in it, and yeah, I also remember one Christmas, we had a little girl. She was about 2, um, a neglect case, and so she'd got nothing. She came with the clothes she was standing up with,
oh,
but she was mad about dollies. So my mum and dad bought her a little doll's pram and a doll, and we've got 2 foster children, not brother and sister. They were from different families. We've got an older boy but he'd got learning difficulties, and on Christmas morning, he dared to touch this pram, and this little 2-year-old gave him such a whack across the face. So it's mine, because she'd never had anything.
I shouldn't be chuckling actually, but I can just imagine it. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
it was.
yeah.
Yeah, and she actually went to bed, and she had this pram next to her bed, and she was holding on to it all night.
So
My
she'd
dad,
make a good bodyguard then, wouldn't she?
yeah, my dad tried to prise it off her, and she shouted, "No, mine."
So this really grounded you then, didn't it?
Yeah,
And helped you understand that not all children uh,
yeah,
come from the same, so in your words, idyllic background. Your brother was born then 12 years later, which is um, why you spent the formative years of your life
yeah.
on your own with foster children. What was the longest stay for a foster child with your parents?
So we had one boy from the age of 2 till he was 18.
Wow.
So yeah,
That
Uh,
that is phenomenal. That
yeah, he was very, very troubled though.
was he.
Very troubled. Yeah, we had a lot of problems with him. Lot of problems. Um, for police round to the house all the time.
Right.
Schools round to my house all the time.
And how
Yeah,
what type of young man did he grow up into when he was 18?
we actually don't know because he just did a midnight flit.
Right.
Um,
That's such a shame and such a
I know that I saw him once when I was home on leave, my first leave from the army. I saw him in a pub and he totally ignored me and shouted that I was a baby killer.
all right, okay.
Um, so yeah,
So
he was very
obviously trouble.
anti-establishment,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
so yeah, that's unfortunate. And going back to what you were saying, well, actually, he would have had all the love he needed. So there
Yeah,
might have been other things going on in his life, like the people he was knocking about with, which
yeah,
you can't control really. If
exactly,
so, unless you put someone in solitary confinement,
exactly.
you're not able to control that. So there's
No,
an interesting point about it's not just the home life, it's also who you're knocking about with,
exactly.
which is why we were talking about the Pathfinder program I've written. And one of the things I talk about in the things, the element of the weekly diary, if you like, is you have to look at the people you should start knocking about with more, the
Yeah,
people you should start knocking about with less,
yeah,
and the people who you just shouldn't knock about with,
yeah. That's it.
and say bye bye. So that's an interesting lesson. So we come back to the police. They said you were too young, so you go back
Yeah,
the next year. Now they're saying you're too old, and you
yeah,
thought, do one, mate. And then you went to the Army Career Centre. They told
yeah,
you how good the army is. That
yeah.
you could join the army, see the world. You know,
That's it.
beautiful colour brochures. How much you'll enjoy it.
Yeah,
And you were a bit of a cut. And with all due respect, you'll understand what I say here when I
yeah.
say slop jockey, because
Ah,
that's
yeah,
what
exactly.
um,
Yeah,
and I do joke, and again take this in the best way possible. We always used to rib the cooks or the chef in our
yeah.
canteen and say, you know what, mate, that course, that cook's course that you do, the
It's
catering
the
course,
hardest course in the
that,
British Army
yeah, because yeah, the hardest course because none
because
of you
nobody
pass
passes
it.
it.
Yeah. So you heard the same one, boom, boom.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, so you join up, you're in, you do your basic training,
Yeah,
and what sort of experience was that like? The typical line, "I'm your mother now. Who am I?" What was
yeah.
going on?
It was good. I obviously because I joined the although I was a slot jockey, I joined the WRAC.
Yeah,
So my basic was in Guildford.
yeah, I know Guildford well. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
was
not there no
posted just
more.
down the road from Guildford. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Not it's not there now. It's been bulldozed. It's a housing estate now. But um, I mean, obviously I came from a small village, so I'd never been away from home really.
yeah.
So I turned up in Guildford, and at that age, I'm pretty confident. I've got that air of confidence about me. I soon had it knocked out of me. But do you know what? I enjoyed basic training. It was hard graft. I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't the fittest of recruits. Um, but I put the work in because I wanted it. Um, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed. Well, actually, we were the first females to do the full weapons training program.
All right. Okay.
Obviously before '88,
Yeah.
only specialist service
Yeah.
women in special services handled weapons. So we were the first to do the full weapons training,
Yeah. Because
which was
that would have been the
like,
close protection.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So which was delightful. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't really bothered about shooting if I'm honest, but I did it because I had to. Um, so and the PT I enjoyed. We had a good good group of girls, and we had a decent group of staff as well, to be fair. They were firm but fair with us. I did end up in jail for a night, 2 nights before my passing out parade.
And what ridiculous thing was that for?
So we'd been to a disco over at Purbright,
Yeah,
and we came back, and I'd had a fair few sherbets,
yeah.
and decided it would be a good idea to go and get in my NBC suit and dance on top of the gas chamber.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, that's what you do, isn't it? That's normal
Yeah.
behaviour.
And I got caught by the guardroom staff on their patrol. So
Well,
they
at least you had your clothes on. So I mean,
exactly, yeah, yeah,
yeah, they should have applauded you. Really, what was that?
exactly.
As at a weekend was that?
That's a weekend, yeah, yeah.
Did you
We
do any
we
pokey drill? Did you have to run around in it or anything?
change parades.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Quick
the old
change
change
plans.
parades. Yeah. So
Lovely.
yeah, so
Yeah.
and run everywhere you go. Yeah, but two nights before my passing out parade, probably not the best of choices, but you learn, don't you?
Yeah. You certainly
Yeah.
do.
So I quite enjoyed it. You know, I made some good friends in basic that I'm still in touch with today. You know,
Good.
not sort of, I don't go and see them, but we speak on social media and
Oh, that's
things.
good.
You know, so
Excellent.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that was really good.
Fantastic. So then you go to the you swap to the catering
Yeah.
element of the military, and what was going on there, and how
So
did that?
obviously I did my trade training. I was because I'd already been to catering college. I went on a shorter version of the course, so I only did like 6 weeks in trade training because I was already qualified. It's pointless trying to tell you to suck eggs, isn't it? So
Yeah.
we did a 6 week course, and then so obviously wasn't there for that long. Um, it was enjoyable, apart from climbing the stairs to the tower block every day.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed to
So
use it.
so how long did you serve in the army, and what was going on, and when did you decide to get out?
Oh, well, I didn't decide to get out. I got to my just over 6 years, and unfortunately, I had a bit of an accident uh, where I got knocked down some stairs.
Yeah.
Total accident, nothing malicious. Total accident. Two youngsters come running downstairs, and they just clipped my shoulder, and I fell forward and landed on my knees. Um, Kept going to the MO because things were not great. I kept getting a swelling in my leg, and my back was hurting, and they did tests, sent me for tests, and they couldn't find anything. Said I'd got sciatica, said I'd got tissue damage on my leg. And every time I did fizz or anything, my leg swelled up, and it took days to come down, and the pain in my back was so bad. I kept going, and they decided that I couldn't carry on. Med discharged me, which was absolutely horrific because I was doing really well. You know, I
No,
was
did
getting
this happen in the block that you were not
no, it was in the naffy.
in enough?
I was,
And when you
yeah,
say two youngsters, were they two
junior
children?
junior soldiers.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, so I got I enjoyed my service life. You know, I had some good times. I served in Northern Ireland straight after training, and I came back and I did a stint in the School of Catering. Then I went to the RCT barracks. Then I went back to Purbright. You know, and I enjoyed myself. I was happy. I was doing my sports that I enjoyed doing as well in the spare time. Anything to get out of the kitchen.
Yeah. So how did that affect you, having your military career brought to an abrupt halt? Because
Oh, it was
you know,
horrendous.
because what strikes me about you, Elaine, is that you just gloss over, if you don't mind me using that term,
Yeah,
gloss over and run through things, as though it's matter of fact, because we've met a couple of times and I
Yeah,
know how positive you are. At that time, right, you've just been told you're getting medically discharged.
yeah,
You joined the Women's Royal Army Corps. You did a shortened trade training because you were
yeah,
already a qualified chef. Then, then you love sport. You go into Purbright. You go everywhere to different places.
yeah,
You're doing what you love. And all of a sudden, two young junior leaders, soldiers, run past you on the stairs in a naffy, knock you over, you fall, and then you bang your knee. It's awkward. You go to the med centre, they keep doing stuff and they're not finding anything, and then all of a
yeah,
sudden they say, you're out.
yeah.
What was going on in your life then?
Oh, it was horrific. You know, I I didn't know what to do. I was upset about it. I pleaded with them to keep me in. Said I'd go on a desk job, do anything, but at that time they didn't do that. And I said the injury wasn't that bad. Surely something could be done. And they were like, "It's we've been trying to sort it out for the last 8 months and nothing's worked." So I was absolutely devastated. I was in a relationship at the time as well with an ex-soldier,
Yeah,
which was a bit rocky at the time, but you know, things happen. He'd just been made redundant from the military as well.
right.
So um, I had to accept it, I suppose. So I started looking for different jobs and things, and um, I managed to get a job working in a club actually. And then the guy that was owned the club, he was buying a new club in Southampton and invited me and my partner at the time to go and run that for him, which we did. So we gave up our house because we were renting accommodation in Farnham, gave up our house, moved to Southampton, um, helped with getting it all set up and everything. I planned all the menus. I'd got a little part-time job in between while we were waiting for the club to be ready. And we had a nice flat above the club, beautiful.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, my partner was caught skimming money from them. Not
Mm,
me, just my partner. And so we were both well, they sacked him and said I could stay. But at the time, I was madly in love. And I was like, well, if he can't stay, I'm not staying.
right.
So um, we finished there after about 3 months. And I managed to secure another job with the Salvation Army Drugs and Alcohol Services
Oh, wow.
as a chef. So I went there and I worked there during the day. And at night, I worked in another nightclub. Well, it's a cabaret club um, down on the docks. So I did that during the day and then went there and was still having a lot of problems with my back. And I managed to see a doctor who looked at my leg and there was well, I'd already had that operated on anyway. I'd had a stress fracture which hadn't healed properly, so they basically opened it up and sealed it back together, which was no problem. I didn't think that was the cause of my back problems, but my back problems were getting worse and worse.
Right. Okay.
And we'd moved into a flat in Southampton, a tower flat, and the one day the lift had broken. We were on the seventh floor, and I got halfway up the stairs, and I thought I can't do this anymore. And I phoned my partner, and he came and got me up. And he'd got a gambling problem, and I'd been giving him the money for the rent, and he'd been spending the money in gambling.
Right.
So um, I decided I needed a break. So I phoned my mum up and said, I'm coming home, but I'm not driving because my back's so painful. I don't think I can drive. I'm coming home on the train. Can you meet me? So my mum said, are you all right? And I was like, I'll talk to you when I get home. So I got to the train station and my mum and dad walked past me on the train station platform. I looked so ill, they didn't recognise me.
Oh,
So they got me home. Um, on that way home, I decided I'd had enough of my partner. He was just, it was just bad news. He was bad news. I'm not going to go into all of
No, no,
that.
no, no. It's okay.
Um,
You don't need
uh,
to. And by the
yeah,
way, thank you very much for sharing this.
no worries.
And it's just because your story does amaze me and inspires me, because no matter what happens, because we'll be moving on to bringing it up to date, no matter what happens, you just keep getting up. And it reminds me of that Chumbawamba. I get knocked down, but I get up
I
again.
get
You're
knocked
never going
down,
to
get
get me
rid of
down.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I sing that as well, because that's why I feel an affinity with you, right?
Yeah.
So basically, you you got a great job in a nightclub in Southampton.
Yeah.
Your partner boyfriend got caught skimming the money off
Yeah.
the top. You were offered to stay there,
Yeah.
and because you were madly in love, yeah, girl meets boy, falls
Yeah.
madly in love, and all that. You decided to stay with him. 3 months later, you split up. Then you with someone who's got a gambling problem. You're living on a 7th floor of a flat, and then one day the lift breaks and you can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
You find out he's been gambling the money away. So you phone your mum, right? Gotta come home. Can't do this anymore. Can't drive. Get on the train.
Yeah.
At the train station, your parents walk past you because they
Yeah.
don't recognise you. So I imagine, right? And correct me if I'm wrong. This would probably be a low time in your life, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Massively.
Yeah.
Massively.
So at that time, what did you do to think, I've got to get up, brush myself down, I've got to get on with this? And what was happening with your back? Because you've still got the back injury.
So basically, I'd been home 2 days, and I collapsed at home. And so my mum had called the doctor, and a doctor came out, and he was like, "Oh, bloody hell, we need to get to hospital." So they ambulanced me to Nottingham, and that's where I found out I had cauda-equina syndrome.
How do you spell that, please?
CAUD
CAUD
A,
A
and then it's a new word, EQ
EQ
UINA.
UINA. Cauda-equina injury.
Yeah.
And
So I was operated on immediately. Came out of surgery. Spent about a week in hospital. Was discharged back to home. Was getting on with life. I was, doing mild exercise. Week later, didn't feel very well. Got it again. It had re-herniated onto my spinal cord. So I was taken back into hospital, re-operated on. Came out. Was doing well again. I'd got myself a little job in a small hotel, just cooking, which I was enjoying. Then I decided, actually, I got approached by Sodexo to go and run. They wanted me as an exercise chef at the barracks, my local barracks. So I took the job because it was 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, on full pay. So I thought that's kind of quite good. So I went back to them, worked there. Then I had a bit of an accident. While I was on one of the camps, or one of the exercises, I asked one of the corporals that was with us if he could take me down to do some shopping, and he said, "Can you wait till the end of the day?" Because he said, "We'll do it on the way down to the pub tonight." So I was like, "Oh, all right then." So did my shopping, went down to the pub because the kids, the recruits were doing their skit night.
Yeah.
And coming home, the snow had come down. and I jumped off the back of the Ford Tonner when we got back to the camp. Hadn't realised that there was a curb where I jumped because it was covered in snow, and I hit the curb and I broke my leg.
Ouch.
So went and I didn't know I'd broken my leg, and the medic had to look, but because they were all drunk, yeah, they were like, oh, it's just a sprain. So I got up the next morning, cooked breakfast, and like literally my leg was throbbing. So I went and saw the medic again, and I was like, will you have another look at my leg? It's really, really, really bad. And I couldn't get my shoe on. I'd worked with no shoes on.
Right.
And she looked at it and nearly passed out. So literally my leg was broken in 2 places.
Ouch. Oh, so that's
So
like, because I remember like this when we were doing sport and you got injured. Oh, run it off, mate.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, you'll be all
yeah,
right. Yeah, crack on. Yeah,
yeah. So they took me to hospital. I had my leg plastered, and then there was the scenario. I'd driven up to, we were at Leek camp. I'd driven to Leek, so it was getting me home. How the hell are we going to get you home, and how the hell are we going to get another chef up? So we phoned the barracks, and what they did was they sent 2 chefs, one to drop off to take over my duties, and one to drive my car back.
right.
So with me in it. So we get home and everything, and I get told off because I shouldn't have been on the back of the Ford Tonner anyway, because I was a civvy. So I get a rollicking for that. And right, you're on 6 weeks leave till your leg's healed. And I was like, no, I said, I can come in, I can do office work, I'll go in the ration stores and do the rations. So they allowed me to do that. But then it was like, no civvy chef's allowed to go on exercises now.
Yeah.
So too dangerous. So I was like, oh God, I'm going to lose my job here, because that's what I'd been taken on as. Anyway, I knew the regimental catering warrant officer really, really well. I'd served with him on 2 or 3 times. I'd served with him.
Right.
So I went and had a chat with him, and I said, like, I don't want to lose my job. Is there any positions coming up? And he was like, oh, I've already sorted it, mate. You're taking over the sergeant's mess as manager.
Oh,
And I
very
was like,
good.
oh, nice. And he said, yeah. He says, there's one problem. I said, what? And he said, we've got no officers mess manager either, so you're doing both. So I was like, well, that's all right. I like a challenge. So I took that on, and I stayed there for 8 years, and managed both messes for nearly 2 years till they got another manager. And then I swapped over to the officers mess manager full time and worked there 6 years.
Well, and that is, I know how hard that must have been.
It
Right.
was hard, but do you know what? I thrived. I loved the job. I loved that I was back with the military. I made some great friends with the military lads as well. I was thought very highly of. I had my own room in the sergeant's mess. That's how highly thought of, next to
Wow.
the RSM.
And
Next to the RSM.
they're premium.
Exactly. You know, because I worked such long hours, and I lived quite a way away at the time, they said, like, well, we'll give you a room in the mess. They asked the RSM, and he said she can have. Initially, I just used, because he was a pad, I just
Yeah.
used to use his room, and then a room came available. So the RSM said, we're going to give you your own room, and you can just use it as and when you need it, mate, which was lovely of him.
Yeah.
You know, I was very highly thought of, and I really enjoyed the job.
And what year was that?
I finished there in nine. No, 97. So 2004, I finished there. I was there quite some time.
Good. That's excellent. So after you finished there, did you just decide to leave, or something else was coming on?
No, they were shutting the barracks down for redevelopment.
Right.
So we were effectively all made redundant.
Okay. Oh, that old chestnut.
Yeah.
So so what's going on then? Because I mean, that's obviously you had been there for years you were going to carry on there indefinitely.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with, because we've not finished yet at all, but how do you deal with failure? What do you do?
Um,
What's that secret that you've got?
do you know what, right? I don't consider it as failure. I consider it as a challenge.
Yeah,
I think you've got to be resilient, and you've got to look at things outside the box. I always believe that there's when not one opportunity ends, another door opens, and you've got to sell yourself well. And it is about selling yourself. And you might not be the most qualified person in the world, but you develop life skills over time, I
mm,
believe.
yeah,
And I believe life skills are sometimes more important than qualifications,
yeah,
because if you've got those life skills, who would you rather employ? Would you rather employ a student that's been sat at university for 6 years
yeah.
studying, or somebody that's been out there actually learning a trade or a craft?
That's a great question.
You know, it's yeah, qualifications are good, but in my experience, you know, my brother's girlfriend's got degrees coming out of her ears, but can't get a job.
Yeah,
She's on a minimum wage as a waitress,
yeah.
you know, where, you know, I've walked into jobs just through selling myself and being a bit of a bullshitter at times, if I'm honest.
Oh, yeah,
Honestly,
that's a great technical phrase. That
it is,
we,
isn't it, though?
yeah. Yeah, because I remember someone said to me, O'Connor, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with bullshit.
Exactly. Yeah, you know, and I think it is about selling yourself and then putting
Yeah,
the effort into proving yourself.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you know, it. I mean, sadly, my career came to an end in 2010.
Which we'll talk
Um,
about in a minute. Yeah.
yeah,
So interestingly enough, I know you use that term, just given bullshit. Actually, it's that's a phrase. Well, what you encapsulated in what bullshit is to you is by learning as much as you can about something, then continuous development and doing
exactly.
and working hard. Now, now that's different from my point of view, and I know we use the term bullshit.
Yeah,
That is different in my assessment than bullshit, because bullshit would just mean, oh, just give us some bullshit and you don't have to tell the truth. Whereas
yeah,
you're actually talking about something that's much more structured, aren't you?
yeah, yeah, definitely.
And putting the
Yeah,
graft in.
yeah. You know, I mean, so now I'm up to Operation 6 on my spine, and it's not going to get any better now.
Wow. So
You know,
what happened in 2000, between 2004 and 2010, and what brought your career to an abrupt end?
so 2004, I just finished at the barracks, and I got called requiner again. Um, I did go back to work. I went back to work for a pub company. I did very, very well out, you know, through the pub company. Um, Again, I was very highly thought of. They after my operation, they looked after me quite pretty well.
Yeah,
Uh, um, Put a lot of adaptations in for work. So I think I went back on a phased return anyway.
yeah,
Um, stayed with them down in, well, I was in Oxford by this time, Banbury. Stayed with
yeah.
them for a year. Then they offered me a mobile job going round like all the problem pubs and
All right.
sorting them out, sorting spy. It's kind of a bit like a spy, really. Bit like an environmental health officer. Just turn up and have a look at the kitchen and discuss what they're doing wrong. And it was quite rewarding. And then, unfortunately, I did that for a couple of years. And then 2007, I got called recliner again. And this time, so I was rushed into John Radcliffe, and it was pretty bad. So I had my surgery. The pub company were great again. Mitchells and Butlers, by the way.
Right.
Quick plug. But were great again. Worked with me. Um, my manager at the pub that I was under, he'd been offered a new pub nearer to my mum and dad's. So he said, "Do you want to come with me? You can be me head chef." So I was like, "Yeah, I'll come with you then." So it was a nice little pub, good turnover. He got the job, I didn't.
Right.
So I stayed at the pub that we were in, and then another pub came up in Lichfield. So I applied for that one and got the job. So I worked there, and they had the chef academy there as well as the pub. So I was floating between the two. Really enjoyed it. 2010, round about October, I started getting back pain again. Went and saw the surgeon, and they diagnosed me with caudal equino again. So emergency surgery again. So carried on working after, but it was just getting ridiculous with the pain.
Yeah.
Other things started kicking off. I started suffering with mental health problems, and different things were going on with my body. Like, so one morning I just woke up and I couldn't move my legs, and then another morning my speech was really affected. Then another day I've suddenly just collapsed for no reason. I felt like I was spinning out of control, and it was probably one of the lowest points in my life.
Yeah.
I kept going to the doctors, and they kept saying, "Well, it could be this, it could be that. We'll send you to see a neurologist. We'll send you to see this." And then they sent me to Birmingham to see the mental health services specialist there. And it was discovered that I had something called FND, which is functional neurological disorder, with elements of complex PTSD. I'd never heard of FND before.
What's that again? Functional.
Functional neurological disorder.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
So yeah, it was a bit of a shock. I did a bit of research because there's not a lot known about it, and I've found out that it's a problem with the mapping in your brain. The signals to different parts of your body get interrupted, and it's usually due to trauma. So they could only say that it was caused by the trauma I've had to my spine. So there's no cure for it. Very little meds help it. I have found that like grounding techniques and distraction sometimes help, but not always. It, it, at the height of it, I had over 40 different symptoms.
Wow.
Some were coupled to my PTSD, most of them were coupled to pain. We found with me it's a reaction to pain, and it can also be a really big reaction to me being overtired and overstimulated.
Yeah.
I am managing it a lot better now than I was, but it took me probably 8 years to get a proper diagnosis, but 8 years to understand what was happening to me, and 8 years to work on myself as well as work with the mental health team. I think I was in denial that I haven't got mental health problems. This is something physical going on. Although that you do get physical problems with it, but they're very much controlled by the brain activity, the activity in your brain. It's a bit like the way that they describe it is, imagine you're a computer and your hard drive goes down. That's exactly what FND is. Your hard drive has just had enough, and it's just given up. And to get around that, it's about repairing that hard drive. So it's about repairing electrical wirings to your brain. So it was very difficult. It's still difficult now. I have days where I'm really reactive on it, not as much as I was. And I think I've got my sport to thank for that. I think that's
which we'll come on to now, and thank you very much for sharing that. It's so helpful for you who's listening to this, because you just shared something that I knew little or nothing about, and how you've overcome that is absolutely fantastic, and you're a credit to being able to overcome difficulties. So that was 2010, then 8 years, brings us 2018, 19, 20. Right. What was going on in your life just before that big thing hit that stopped us going out, meeting each other, greeting each other and having a laugh with each other?
So do you know what, right? I'd been engaging with the British Legion and Help for Heroes with different things. In 2000, just before COVID hit, I got invited to go to Battleback at Lilleshall. I'd never heard of it. I'd been with a caseworker that was looking after me after another lot of back surgery. He said, like, do you think you'd fancy going to Battleback? And I was like, Battleback? What's that then? Oh, well, it's like this, it's a bit like Headley Court, but for sport and recovery for veterans. And I was like, oh. And he says, well, serving do go there, but it's more for veterans. Do you fancy it? So I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. So I went.
Which is a great attitude. I'll give it a go.
Yeah, exactly. So they put an application in for me, and 2 days later I got a phone call inviting me for a week up there. So they've given me the joining instructions and told me what to expect. So I'm like, oh, it sounds all right. Like, it says they've got a 5-star restaurant on there, and you do different activities. And there's a bit of
you'd have been there with your clipboard, wouldn't you? 5-star restaurant. Let's have a look what you get up to then.
So I racked up there on the Monday morning, went and introduced myself, and showed me to a beautiful room, all singing and dancing, everything you could want in your room. And then they took us all round on a little tour. We went into the restaurant, very nice. Had a bit of lunch, which was really good. And then then they gave us the list of activities that we were doing. So the first one was wheelchair basketball.
Wow,
which was really cool.
Which is an interesting game.
Yeah, which I wasn't in a wheelchair by then, so I'd not got any experience of being in a wheelchair. And then they took us climbing. We went cycling. What else did we do? Paddle boarding. Bowls. Curling.
Right, so a whole shed load of stuff then.
Absolutely loads of stuff. And then in the evenings, we'd have different people come in to talk to us about resilience and mental health, and different charities would come in and talk to us, and we'd do a quiz night, and really good, kept you active all the time. They get you up at 5 o'clock in the morning, take you for a walk, and then you start your day. And it was really good. And it was a really positive experience for me, because obviously through this FMD and all my spinal surgery, I'd been getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the doldrums, where I didn't want to go out, didn't want to meet people. And I got there and I was like, I had a really good laugh. Right, the staff were great. Most of them were either ex-military or they were ex-sportsmen of some kind,
Yeah.
and really, really good, really positive experience. And then I found out that I could apply for Invictus.
And Invictus is the place to be for military, ex-military, and the Paralympics, effectively, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I put my application in, and I got invited to the trials. Did I think it was 12 different camps all over the country. Really positive again, got to stay in swanky hotels and do loads of different sports. Great. I got into archery, I got into my cycling, and I got into rowing. So waited and waited and waited to see if I'd been selected. Unfortunately, I didn't get selected. This would have been for Dusseldorf.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was a bit disappointed, but then they went, however, and I was like, oh, what? What are you going to tell me? Would you like to go to Las Vegas to the Warrior Game trials? Let me think about that. Oh, yes, please. Okay, so I think it was 54 of us got selected to go to Las Vegas. So we went over in March.
What year was that?
March of 23.
Right.
Went over. We were with the it was the Air Force trials. So we were, because it was after COVID, they hadn't done any.
You didn't have to fly a jet, did you?
No. I wish we could though. It was because they would have been amazing. So it was the first one after COVID. So everybody was they were scaling it down, but we got invited so that the Americans got to know what competing with other countries was like again.
Yeah.
So we went over and did the trials with them, and they made it as much as like the Warriors as they could. We got medals and things, and we were in a 5-star hotel in the middle of the Nevada desert. Everything was geared up for us. We did the opening ceremony. I think the whole of the Las Vegas police force were on standby because we got escorted in with motorbikes, helicopters, planes.
Oh,
Everything.
wow.
It was such a surreal experience. They had entertainment on. They had the American paratroopers parachuting with all the different flags, because there was Colombia were also there, and I can't remember the other country now. So they parachuted in, each had one of our flags, and it was absolutely incredible. So the day of the opening ceremony, that's when the game started. So I did my archery, I did my cycling, which was great. It was a bit bizarre. We were in the middle of the desert cycling, and it started snowing, and yet it was like 34 degrees. Even the Americans were like, what the hell? It's 34 degrees and snowing. So, but it was fabulous.
I wonder whether global warming's got anything to do with that.
That's it.
There's an interesting subject.
Yeah. So anyway, I'd been 4 days, and I'd done my rowing practice, and I didn't feel very well, and I went to my bed, and then I got up for dinner, and one of the American colonels says, "You're looking a bit peaky." And I said, "Yeah, I feel a bit weird." I said, "I'm in a bit of pain." And he says, "Oh, have a bit of this vodka I've made." It was literally like drinking fire water, this vodka. I think I staggered up to my room, and I woke up the next day, and I really felt really, really ill, and I couldn't feel my legs right. And I said to my roommate, I said, "I can't feel my legs, like something's not right here." And she was like, "You're probably still drunk from last night, you alky." And I rang down to our boss, British Legion boss, and I said, "Can I have the day off?" I'm not feeling too good. And I said, I need to see the physio. So she was like, yeah, we'll phone in later on in the day. So they phoned and couldn't get hold of me. Where we were training was about 40 minutes away from the hotel. So they phoned the hotel manager and asked if the concierge could go up and check on me. He couldn't get anything, but he didn't want to break in until a member of staff was there. So they went and got a member of staff to come back over. They broke in and I was unconscious.
Oh no.
So they went and got we had an Air Force doctor on site with us. The Air Force doctor came in, and every time they got me round, but every time they sat me up, I passed out. So she's like, I think she's got a spinal injury. The fact that she can't feel her legs, we need to get her to hospital. And she said, if we wait for a land ambulance, it's going to take forever because it's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Thursday, I think it was. She said, if we do an air ambulance, it's going to land in the middle of the desert, which means we've still got to get her over to the air ambulance. She says, I think the best thing we can do is get her into the back of my truck. So they'd put like a mattress in the back of this truck. It was the most bizarre thing ever, with blankets and everything. I was on the 3rd floor of the hotel. So like, how the hell are we going to get her down? So they went and nicked a wheelchair off one of the amputees. And literally, luckily, it was a lying back wheelchair. So they managed to get me in this wheelchair, laid me back, got me down to this truck, lifted me into this truck, got me to hospital. And that's where the nightmare began. I was very seriously poorly. So they found out they did an initial scan and didn't think it was too bad. Sent the scans off to the surgeon, and the surgeon was like, "No, I want to have a dynamic MRI." So they did this dynamic MRI, and it showed that I'd actually severed part of my spinal cord.
Flipping heck.
And
you know, and at that time, had you been put on you hadn't been put on a spinal stretcher?
No,
you didn't have a collar on,
no,
right? And the moving, and by the way, you know my history.
yeah,
I broke my neck twice, so
yeah.
I've got some experience. They put you on a wheelchair that goes down straight, which is all right. And then they put you on a mattress,
Yeah,
in a vehicle, take you
yeah,
to the hospital, and then they do a dynamic MRI
yeah,
scan and say, "Oh,
yeah. But what was really bizarre is that because obviously I was in a strange country and everything, and they were like, the British Legion girls were with me, but they were going home the next day. And so the surgeon said to me, right, so this is what we can do. You can have the operation here, but it'll mean that you're going to be in here for 3 months, or we can get you home on an air ambulance. And like, I obviously didn't know how the medical system worked over there, so I was panicking that I was going to get billed shed loads of money.
yeah."
So I was like, no, I want to go home. I want to go home. I want to be near home. I've got nobody here. If I'm going to be ill for 3 months, I want to be ill at home. So they said, right, okay, we'll get that organised. So they were organising the air ambulance, and I started to deteriorate quite quickly. So they were doing tests on me, and we found out that I'd got COVID.
Oh, no.
So
To add to even more difficulty.
So that scuppered the chances of me going home, because the air ambulance wouldn't be able to get out with me on board because of having COVID.
And by the way, I recognise just what a complication that was, because when your spinal cord injured and you're lying down flat, you cannot use your lungs properly.
Exactly.
You get all sorts of respiratory problems.
Yeah.
You've got COVID, which is a hide into nothing anyway. So you must have been in
shit state.
That's exactly the word I was thinking of, and I didn't want to say it. You must have been in shit state, yeah.
Yeah. So then the surgeon wanted another MRI doing, so they did another MRI, and things had deteriorated quite quickly with my spine, to the point that the surgeon said, I'm not qualified enough to do this operation. We're going to have to bring another surgeon in. So they flew another surgeon in. She came in and she was top of her game. I have to say, she was amazing.
Yeah.
And she was like, right, you need to sign this. And I was like, what is it? And she's like, it's a consent form. And I was like, what about how am I going to pay for this? And she was like, well, we'll worry about that after it's done. It's more important that we get this done. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, I've got COVID. And she was like, mate, she says, you'll either die of COVID or die of your back problem. She said, we've got two choices. And she said, I'm just going to pump you full of antibiotics and hope for the best. So they
And
took
it's
me
good.
in.
It's good that she was willing to just say, "Look, we just got to crack on."
Yeah, yeah,
That was a good decision. That.
yeah. So she said, you're going to be in surgery for about 7 hours. I think I was in 21 hours.
Flipping it.
Yeah.
I was going to
So
say, oh, you're a lightweight because I was in surgery for 7 hours, 22 minutes. And then you tell me you're in for 21 hours. I
yeah.
thought, wow, who's the
Well,
lightweight then?
they didn't know about the spinal cord until they opened me up.
Yeah.
So that didn't show up on the MRI. Obviously, they could see compression, but when they actually opened me up, they could see that I'd actually got a tear in it.
Right.
So they had to sort that out. Then they had to sort my spine itself out. So I ended up with pretty much the whole of my lower being fused, pinned, and bolted, and they had to put cages in as well to support the spine.
Mm.
And obviously with COVID as well, but I lost an awful lot of blood. I ended up having about, I think she said 8 blood transfusions while on the table.
Flipping heck. They did a
Um,
smart job.
yeah. And I woke up in intensive care, and I remember it to this day. I woke up, and you know when everything's buzzing round you, and you've got tubes coming out of the orifice, and
Yeah.
I opened my eyes, and there was a woman stood at the end of the bed with her arms folded. And I was a bit confused, and I was like, hello, who are you? And she was like, I'm the finance officer of the hospital, and I want £1,800 off you now. And I was like,
Oh,
are you
well,
having
yeah, I'll just go out and get a job. Yeah.
I was like, are you having a laugh? I was like, literally, I don't even think I've got 1,800 pence on me, right? And I was like, I've literally just come out of surgery. I'm in intensive care, wired up to everything you could think of, and you're standing there. And I said to her, you better get a chair. And I said, what day is it even? And it was a Sunday. And I says, well, where am I supposed to get that from? You know, like when you're a bit confused. I
Yeah.
went, all the banks are shut on a Sunday, right? And she goes, well, I'm not moving until I've got it. And I said, well, you best get your chair because you're going to have a bloody long wait. And she wouldn't go. And then the surgeon came in to check on me. And I was like, can you tell this woman that I haven't got 1,800p, let alone dollars? She's saying she won't go. And she shooed her away and said the insurance will sort it. So I didn't see her again, thank God.
You know
But
what? That sounds like it's a bean counter who was
yeah,
there. She's just interested in the money.
but I was like that.
Forget
I was
about how
like,
devastated you are, girl. I want my money.
exactly. And I was like, I remember saying to the surgeon, like, should she even be in here? I've got COVID. And she was like, what do you mean? And I said, well, aren't I on like one-on-one nursing because of COVID? She went, oh no, she said the nurses will go home if they've got symptoms. So it was just as normal. I was being nursed as normal, and,
Right.
and till I came, I think it was 3 days, and then the COVID got really bad because obviously I was low anyway. The COVID got really bad, and I started having respiratory problems. But then they also found I'd got a spinal fluid leak, which was adding to the complications with the COVID. So I was put in isolation then because they reckoned that the COVID was reinfecting me.
Yeah.
So I was put into isolation, and I did have one-on-one nursing then. Um, but I remember asking, I said, how long have I got to stay here for? And she says, mate, she says, you'll probably be going into a rehab facility, this nurse. And the surgeon went, no, she will not. And I was like, oh, okay. She said, I'm not sending this to no rehab facility. She'll stay here for the whole until she goes home. She says, we can't just ship her off somewhere she doesn't know and she's
Yeah.
got no support. She said, at least here, the American Air Force guys are looking out for her and everything.
Ah, good. Yeah.
I ended up staying in there for 3 months.
Well done. And
So,
so you were looked after well eventually when the
yeah,
bean council had been kicked out.
yeah, very well.
And what happened? Did the insurance company cover that? I've got to ask that.
Yeah, they did. Well, they covered so much, and the British Legion covered a fair
Oh,
old
good.
bit as well, I think. But it was my bill was 2.5 million.
All right. Okay. So you could have nipped to the bank on Monday, couldn't
Yeah,
you?
of course, yeah, 2.5 million. Because of course in America they charge you for everything. It's not just your care. They charge you to change your bed. They charge you for a clean gown. They charge you for your washing. They charge you for your food. I asked for
Yeah.
some ice cream when I'd had my tube taken out. I said, could I have some ice cream because I've got a sore throat? And they bought me one of those like little cinnamon muffin pick things.
Yeah.
It's $8, please. I was like, just put it on my bill.
But yeah, the room service just
No money. I had nothing. I had no money on me whatsoever.
oh,
No
flipping
money.
heck.
But then I looked at how some of them treated, and I was like, thank God I'd got insurance because there was a little girl in there
Oh,
that had been through a real rough time. She was homeless,
oh,
and they patched her up and kicked her out the same day because she'd got no money.
that's and
Uh,
then people in the UK say the NHS isn't any good. Well,
yeah,
I know the NHS has bailed me out so many times.
exactly.
And I did a
Exactly.
calculation. I might have to recalculate how much the NHS has spent on me,
Yeah,
knowing that 3 months cost 2.5 million. Well,
yeah,
I was in hospital, I've been in hospital flipping it, double that, right?
yeah.
Not all at once. When I
No,
was 14, when I was
yeah,
37, and
yeah.
then
Oh, I've
recently.
been in loads of times.
Yeah, so yeah, that's it.
Phenomenal, isn't it?
That's phenomenal. So right, you get back. When did you get back to the UK? Was that 2023, 24?
That was 25.
Oh, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was 23,
Right.
2025. No, it's
Okay.
23. So I
Yeah.
got back in May. May.
And when you were flying back, you were you were singing, "I get knocked down, but I get up
Yeah,
again.
of course.
You're never going to keep me
Yeah,
down."
yeah. So
Uh,
they flew me back business class because obviously I had to be laid down, and they flew a nurse out from Glasgow to come and collect me. So the nurse came out the day before I was coming home, because I was on obviously drugs that needed to be administered. So they sent a nurse from Glasgow to come and fetch me. So he travelled home with me on the plane so that he could administer my drugs and things. And then there was an ambulance waiting for me at Gatwick. And I was supposed to go into another hospital when I got here, but nobody would take me, so they took me home.
all right.
So I came home and just got on with life basically. I didn't see a spinal surgeon for nearly 18 months after. So I just cracked on with life and I carried on getting myself fit again. Uh, doing I got involved in all my sports that I do. So I got involved in shooting, laser run, wheelchair basketball, wheelchair rugby, target sprint, just loads of different sports, pentathlon. Uh, and yeah, and Help to Heroes jumped in and started helping me out a little bit with different things. So I did a couple of their courses for sleep and things because my sleep became very disrupted. I
Yeah.
think again probably due to my FND
Yeah.
and the trauma I'd had in Las Vegas. So they they got on board and were helping me, and they were inviting me to different sporting events and things. And then they invited me to join their coaching academy for coaching sports.
Wow.
So I'm nearly a year in now. I'm pretty well. My first year's been really good. I've got some great qualifications from it. They've paid for 3 or 4 different courses. I've got my first aid, level 4 first aid, safeguarding, all my coaching certificates basically. They've just agreed to pay for me to do my shooting instructor's course, which is really
Fabulous.
positive.
Yeah.
So, and the rest is history. I'm just like sports mad.
Yeah. And by the way, you've just, as you commonly do, brushed
Yeah.
over what you've been getting up to with your awards and prize winning
Yeah.
and that. What have you got in the trophy cabinet at the minute?
Okay. So for pentathlon, I've got a gold. For laser target, I've got silvers and bronze. For shooting, I went to Bisley last weekend and got a gold. I also do another competition called Camelot. No, sorry, Bisley I got silver. Camelot I got a gold, and I'm shooting again this weekend. I've got another small competition over at Aldersley. I do obviously target sprint in a wheelchair and laser run in a wheelchair, but I do precision shooting as well. So I've got a very nice, expensive rifle. It's
I'm not
worth
messing about with you.
about 5 grand's worth of rifle. But I've
Yeah,
only just started shooting from my wheelchair. But before, I've only been in a wheelchair for 4 months because I've started having problems with my back again.
right.
So I've only been shooting from my wheelchair for a couple of weeks. So to get a silver at Bisley on my first ever wheelchair shoot was absolutely wicked. So I was really, really happy with that. And I'm coaching the younger generation as well. So I coach able-bodied as well as disabled children in laser run, sorry, and target shooting. So yeah, and I'm actually helping to run a summer camp next week for some junior athletes.
That's absolutely fantastic. And you
Yeah,
know, I did say at the beginning that your story is an inspiration and it's fantastic and it's amazing and it is because and I always say to people that's why I do what happened before you joined the military because
yeah,
that gives an idea of what shaped you,
that's
because
it.
waking up when you're 6 and having a baby,
Yeah,
a young Pakistani baby. It was beautiful, right? Lying there, and then you take the baby out in the pram,
yeah,
and an 80-year-old says, "What you doing?" Oh, I'll have a look at it. Oh, flipping heck, it's alive. And then everything that happens from then on, and then
yeah.
the way you just keep bouncing back from injury is phenomenal, and you know, yeah, it's definitely inspiring. So what I'd like to ask is how important do you think it is to have a good coach and mentor?
I think it's amazing. I work with another charity that I work alongside, um, is supporting wounded veterans.
Mm,
And I did the ran the Island Yacht Race last year, and I'm currently being sponsored on a tall ship
yeah,
where I'm working with youngsters, displaced youngsters, right, and Royal Navy recruits, believe it or not. And through that charity, I got a mentor who phones me every week when he says he's going to phone me. So there's none of this. Oh yeah, we'll phone you next week, and it doesn't happen. If he says he's going to phone, he phones. And the mentoring has been really, really positive for me. He's helped me write a CV.
oh,
He's helped me with my housing when I was homeless. Um, that there's a big story there. So I was being made homeless, not through any fault of my own. my landlady was elderly. She was selling up to downsize, and it wasn't really suitable for me anyway because I had to climb a flight of stairs.
Yeah.
So I got offered a bungalow, but it was derelict and needed to raise funds to get it ship shape. I'd approached the other military charities and they couldn't help. I got a little bit of help from the Legion with flooring and white goods and things, but for renovations they couldn't help. So this mentor says, "Oh well, we'll have a look into that and see what we can do." And he rang round a few people and got me an interest-free loan, basically.
Um,
And that, he's been every step of the way helping me with my housing problems, getting me to see on the positive side of things, and he's really good. I mean, I probably don't need him now, but I've asked him to stay on just because I enjoy having a chat with him.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
and he likes bouncing ideas off me as well because he knows how positive I am. And in fact, he phoned me yesterday and he was like, "Right, what are you doing today? What are you up to?" He says, "I can never get hold of you. You're always doing something." I was like, "Well, I'm actually having a day off today." And he was like, "What?" He's so shocked that I actually was chilling and doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of experience from him as well. He's worked in the charitable sector for many, many years. But he's also a very, very savvy businessman.
Yeah.
So he's like tipping ideas like you need to do this, and like, why don't you do something with sport for work and everything? I think you'd be dead good working with kids and sport and that.
Yeah.
So
So
he's
I definitely think that it's a great idea then.
yeah.
I,
And I
I,
think everybody needs a mentor from time to time. We all hit peaks and troughs, don't we?
yeah,
And
definitely.
I think having that person to get you to look at things differently. The military they're very set in their ways because it's almost like being prisoners, isn't it, being in the army? Because you've had everything organised for you, and when you come out, that organisation drops off, and it's very daunting,
Mm,
very, very daunting.
yeah.
And you don't when you leave the military, you don't get given a leaving pack, do you, that says, right, uh, if you suffer this, go here. Right, you're expected to just crack on, aren't you?
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
it can be very daunting, like with housing and things, with your mental health, with your physical health. You just don't know who to turn to. And I think having that I think all military leavers should have a veteran mentor.
Yeah.
I honestly do. A veteran mentor that's obviously it's worked out for them.
Mm,
It's
yeah.
no good putting a veteran that's struggling with somebody who's leaving, but somebody it's worked out for them.
Is
Get
it?
them together. Why aren't they in job centres and things? Veteran mentors.
That's a
Why
great.
aren't why aren't they in job centres?
That could be our next project.
Yeah, I think in job centres they should have them, and I also think in doctor surgeries they should have a veteran outreach person
Mm,
that that they can go and talk to in confidence
yeah,
about
because it's recognised that if you've got a condition that was caused while you're in the military, you get priority treatment at GPs.
exactly.
And a lot of veterans never say that they're veterans.
Yeah,
So if the GP surgery doesn't know you're a
exactly,
veteran, they can't help you. So that's the top tip, right? If
exactly.
when you're a veteran, military, ex-military, tell them,
Yeah,
tell your GP surgery, and if you've got a condition linked to the military, your military service, you will get priority.
yeah, exactly.
And
But yeah,
and yeah, with it coming to the end now, because I could talk to you all day,
oh
definitely.
bless you.
What's the one tip that you will give to someone who's in the military thinking about leaving? Maybe he's already a veteran, or just someone generally. What's the one tip that you've discovered in your life that has really helped you?
Uh, don't be afraid to talk to people about anything. Like don't feel ashamed if you've got problems with your mental health, your physical health. Talk about it and talk about it loud. If you've got problems with housing, there's people out there like approach the military charities. That is what they're there for, right?
Yeah.
It's not all about giving money, right? A lot of these military charities now have got really, really good people with them that can sweep in, pick you up, dust you down, and sort you out. Don't sit there and don't be alone. Right? Talk about things. There's always a solution. Somebody can always help you out.
Yeah.
Right? You know, you might think, well, what do they know? Believe me, if they've had that lived-in experience, they know, and they'll be able to help.
Yeah.
And that's my top tip. Like,
That's a great tip.
talk, talk,
Yeah.
talk, and
Uh,
make sure when you get out that you've got your housing secured before you come out, if you can. I know it's hard. You know, I was a bit blasé about that. I didn't think about that because I'd been in single soldiers accommodation and then moved into a rented property because I was with my partner. When me and my partner split up, where was I going to go? Because I couldn't afford to pay the rent on my own.
yeah.
You know, what was I going to do? So
Right.
make sure you've got, when you come out, don't blow all your money. Make sure that you've got money there to get yourself fixed up with somewhere to stay.
Yeah.
That's another big tip.
Yeah. So that was 2 tips there, but I'll let you
Yeah,
have them because
yeah,
they were good. They were really good tips.
yeah,
So talk about your mental capacity, about your physical capacity, and also make sure you've got accommodation because
yeah,
you need a roof over your head,
yeah,
food in the cupboard, and heating, right?
yeah.
And then you can do anything. So
Absolutely.
one last thing, uh, how transferable do you think the skills you learned and were taught in the military are in life generally?
I think they're very transferable. Cooking skills, you'll always get a job as a cook, even though it's rubbish wages. You'll always get a job, but it's led into other skills. So obviously, I used to do sports in the military, which is it's fired my passion up again outside of the military, and now I'm thinking of going into coaching, which I didn't have any experience for, but because I do the sport, it's a learned experience. And other things, life skills that you learn in the army are very transferable.
Yeah,
And people shouldn't be worrying about um, their military skills because they are very, very transferable.
yeah,
It might take a while to work out how they're transferable, but I find most employers are really open to ex-military.
yeah,
Most people I've spoken to
yeah.
will take you on in a heartbeat, you
Fantastic.
know. But it's also about changing your attitude
Mm.
as well. I find some people come out of the military and they're a bit, I don't want to sound rude now, but
Blinkered.
yeah, and the way that they speak is different when you're out in city streets. So it's about adapting.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
adaptiveness, but
Fantastic.
you can be very successful if you want to be.
Fantastic. So what does the future hold for you now? You did mention it about coaching, your qualifications, how you want to help in the future.
Yeah, so obviously I've been out of work for quite some time due to my health, but I am looking at getting back into some sort of gainful
Hey,
employment.
but just tell me
Um,
if you wouldn't mind, share
yeah,
that bit of information that you've just had. And this was because you put yourself out there and
yeah,
you put some effort in. So what
yeah.
happened?
Okay, so yesterday I um, found a charity that's for spinal cord injury and spinal injuries, and I'd never heard of them. And there was a meeting quite local to where I live, so I decided to go along and see what they were all about. Because I had very little support with um, my spinal injury, and I went, and there were a fabulous bunch of people. And they asked me to stand up and introduce myself and tell a little bit about myself, which I did. And the the guy that was running that group said, I think you'd be an absolute brilliant fit to come on board as an employee, and offered me a job.
And is that with the SIA,
Yeah,
the Spinal
yeah,
Injuries Association? And what a coincidence, because I used to be the vice
yeah,
president of the Spinal Injuries Association Merseyside. So I think you'd be an absolute fantastic ambassador to go around, because I know what it takes, and you've definitely got it.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm hoping that I can get an application in and maybe get on board with them, because they seem a really good
Yeah.
charity.
Well, ask them to listen to this podcast as well, because
Yeah, I will do.
this is a brilliant life story for you. So
Yeah.
fantastic. Now, I don't necessarily want your personal telephone number or your email address for the people listening to this podcast. What I wouldn't mind doing though is, how can people watch your progress as you're going through Invictus games or future events, warrior programs, or anything like that? How can they watch your progression?
So I tend to post on Insta and Facebook. So yeah, I tend to post on there for competitions and things, and also my local Target Sports Club. It's Target Sport Burntwood.
Right.
We're on there. You'll see some of our children that we coach and things, and you can see me on there quite often coaching. So
Fantastic.
yeah, if anybody wants to have a look at what I do, I am quite active. You'll see quite a bit of me on the tall ship,
Yeah.
doing the tall ship stuff. So
And when you say you don't work, that's in a traditional sense,
yeah,
because the graft you put in is
yeah, I don't work for money, I work
unbelievable.
for love.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Elaine
Yeah,
Hanson, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for how you continue to help your community and others going forward. And thank you for your time.
thanks, Joe.
JoeTeams.com is a resource I have created to fulfill my mission to help 1 million veterans and business entrepreneurs like you achieve the goals, dreams, and aspirations they deserve. JoeTeams.com is jam-packed full of valuable resources specifically designed to help you on your journey to success. Visit JoeTeams.com now to find out how you can join and start your journey to success immediately. That's JoeTeams.com, JoeTeams, JoeTeams.com. And until we meet again, have a brilliant day.